morning. It's nice to meet you.
Good morning. Just tell me, how do I pronounce your name?
It's Ersilia.
Ersilia.
Yeah.
Okay, hi. And you are in London at the moment.
Yeah, I am in London. I'm in quarantine. I'm waiting to get out so I can go to university.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why are you in quarantine at the moment?
Well, I just traveled here from Greece, which is
Okay.
my home country. Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't come before just because quarantine and exams just weren't working out, you know. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
had to Easter holidays to just, have some time to quarantine without
Yeah.
any engagements.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and you're a harpist.
Yes, I'm a harpist.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit, how did you start playing the harp?
Okay, so basically, I just saw a picture of it at kindergarten when we had this presentation of the instruments, and it just clicked in my head. And I just went home to my parents, and they asked me like, "Oh, how was your day?" And I just said I want to play the harp.
Mm.
Having
Amazing.
expressed no prior interest to music. So of course they were a bit concerned because it's a big investment, for a young child to play the harp. It's a big instrument, it's expensive, there are very few teachers, especially in Greece. Um, yeah, so they basically got me to start the piano as proof that I was taking it seriously. And they said,
Oh, yeah.
okay, if you take up the piano successfully for 2 years, then you're allowed to start the harp.
Mm.
Well, it proved to be, kind of a scheme to make me forget about it. But of course, I was a child. I was very stubborn.
Mm.
So when the 2 years were up, I just asked for the harp again, and they had no choice. They
Because
started looking everywhere, and they enrolled me in a conservatoire, like a music school. Yeah, so that's how it started. I eventually started at the age of 8.
mm.
Yeah.
Which is so young. I cannot imagine you get this small harp like that.
Yeah, I mean, there are even younger people starting
Really?
on
Mm.
harp. I was kind of old
Mm.
when I started, which was a disadvantage, especially when you're a competitive musician. It's a
Mm.
very competitive environment, and these things count. The younger you are, the more impressive it is, so
Oh,
to say.
I see. Yeah. And then, so from there on, did you decide that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, it happened gradually. It's actually interesting. The first time I thought about taking it seriously was after performing in my first competition. So it was this Jugendmusiziert competition in Germany. And I just loved it so much. I loved competing, and I thought that's what I want to do. It was this amazing feeling of getting to meet all these people, this huge music community that I didn't even know existed. I was only in 8th grade in German school in Greece, and
Mm.
that's how I got the opportunity to make it to this competition in Germany. Yeah, so that's when I started having a long-term plan and attending master classes in Switzerland and in the Czech Republic. And basically that's how I got here to the Royal Academy of Music.
Oh, okay. And then, how does it feel? How is it for you there in London? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Mm.
It's been hard. It's been hard because I didn't know what to expect, and I expected totally different things than what I actually encountered when I came here. So I was expecting things to be um, easier for me.
Mm.
But it's very hard. It's very hard to actually make a good impression to everyone here, and you actually have to prove yourself to everyone because there are so many immensely talented people here. So what makes you different?
Mm.
That's the question. What makes you special?
Yeah.
you have to have something to say, something different than everyone else. And therefore you have to find it within yourself. What is it you want to say? What your artistic identity is? It's actually very interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say now, this is probably this time that made you think who you are as an artist, which is so important at a young age, I think, you know.
Yeah.
And also London is not it's a big city, you know, it's
Very big city.
yeah.
I think I've made peace with the fact that I will never visit all of London.
Mm.
It's just impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah. But how did you find the situation in lockdown? Were you in London in lockdown, or did you go home?
So I started being in London.
Mm.
I stayed because of my engagements. I thought they were going to happen. I had some chamber music concerts at the time, and I thought I must stay, I must do this. But then everything started getting canceled. First, our exams, then concerts with public, then concerts all together. And I started being afraid. I also have a sister in the UK, and we just said, okay, let's just go home. This
Mm.
seems to be getting worse, and especially in the UK, it was starting to hit hard. You know, the numbers started being so big. So we just got on a plane, went to Greece, and just stayed there until September.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at least you were with family then, and at
Yeah,
home.
with family. I mean, it's hard because you get used to a work environment so much, because for the past 2 years at the time, I had been practicing at the academy. This was my workplace. And I just came back home and didn't know how to work anymore.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
And,
really exhausting. I had to get used to the noise, the people. We're a 5-person family, so.
mm. And also, could you take your harp with?
Well, I never take my harp to London, so I'm
Oh, I
actually
see.
quarantining currently without a harp,
Mm.
which is really bad because it's a very crucial time at the academic time for me. I have exams and stuff coming up, and
Mm.
quarantining without the harp is not ideal. But I had my harp in Greece, which is good, you know.
Yeah.
So
So we
it's not even that.
yeah, but were you did you find it easy to stay motivated because you know there was nothing coming up, or did you just take the time and thought, well, I'm going to have a little rest?
I did a bit of both. It was a weird time for my life because I was actually looking, for my identity as a person at the time. So I was very drained, and with all that stuff, I just wanted to go into hibernation.
Yeah.
um, but that lasted for about like 3 weeks, and then when I came out, I just wanted to go back to work. I did some online competitions at the academy. I had my goals. So
Mm.
it's good that they gave us something to work on and something to work towards, especially.
Yeah. Many artists say this, that they sort of just use the time to just breathe a little bit, you know. And I think it's also important that in your careers where you are so full on and so busy, that you take that time to do that. And did you
Yeah.
also have moments where you uh, sort of thought about what you were doing and what the future would be for you?
Well, I think about this all the time. It's a very big stress for me.
Okay.
um, but yeah, I sort of started thinking, where am I? What am I doing? And I just think that this is a very controversial opinion. But I just think that the music is one of the most stressful professions. Honestly, it takes such a toll on your mental health and on your psyche, because you basically have to act when you play a piece. You have to act on the emotions that are described on the piece and the storyline, and you have to become the piece, and that takes a toll on your psychological state, because you're constantly trying to express these emotions, and you're very drained afterwards. It's very
Yeah.
hard.
Mm. And then there's also this up and down time that you're experiencing now, where you have to prepare for something. And like you say, probably this putting this emotion in it, and then it gets cancelled, or then you don't know if it's going to happen. Then I can imagine if you say that it's this up and down emotions the whole time. Did you
Yeah,
experience it
it's
that way?
a roller coaster. I mean,
Mm.
it's very disappointing and even kind of painful when you see something getting canceled, because due to the pandemic, the funding has been undercut so badly.
Mm.
So it's even harder to get concerts and performance opportunities now. So even when you get something and it gets canceled, you feel like you have nothing.
Yeah.
It feels very pointless.
Mm. How is the mood amongst the students there at the college?
We're all very tired at this point. We just want to have a normal ending of the year. We just want to have our concerts and our exams as normal. We've lost so much time. It's very disappointing. I lost half of my second year of academy, and then I lost a term of my third year of bachelor's, and these are years that are not coming back.
Mm.
And we had to settle with having online lessons, which is nothing like having in-person lessons. It's
Yeah.
very, very frustrating, especially since next year is my last year, and I have to think about masters and auditions again. It just feels like I've wasted very valuable time.
Mm. And uh, do you have, you said that your professors gave you some things to do and something to keep you motivated. So that was, at least that was something great, because I hear that from artists, that also that here that the professors do a lot, the teachers do a lot to keep the students going and motivated. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
very hard job to do. It's especially also for the teachers is hard because we have old teachers that had to learn how Zoom works and how computers work and how it's so hard, and they might be alone without any external help, quarantining,
Mm.
and you just have to make it work. You don't have another option.
Yeah. Who are your teachers, your professors?
um, My teacher is Susie Willison Kabalek. She is in the London Philharmonic Orchestra,
Mm.
and also Skyla Kanga, which is a very celebrated harpist in the harp world.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's great. We have to name the teachers because they have such a great impact on the artists, and being artists themselves. I think they leave something behind then when they teach.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
they do all the work behind the artist. It's what you don't see, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm also thinking in this time about how artists can have contact with the public, with their audiences, in a different way. Because when we start talking about now how art is being valued, and we think how, like you say, there's always these financial cuts to all the art institutions, and also in schools, art, uh, the funding is not there. And like you said, also in Greece, when you started the harp, it's an expensive instrument to play, and it's expensive to have these art lessons. Um, and do you think we should now start looking at how artists communicate to their audiences, um, say via social media, and to talk more about, say, for instance, you as a harpist, you know, what it is all about, playing the harp and the music, and like you say, this, the emotions that you put into it, that artists are doing that type of thing.
I think it's a beautiful initiative that we as musicians have started. So doing live concerts on Facebook, for example, or other platforms. I think it's beautiful, and I think it makes you connect in a very unique way because everyone is at home. You know,
Yeah.
everyone's looking for something to break the routine and do something different. So giving that through music is very amazing, I think. And it's given me the opportunity to get to know new artists and new musicians that I didn't even know before quarantine. I think it's very useful. And it's also nice because you feel like the audience gets to know you in a more personal level. It sees you in a more intimate environment, and they just see sides of you that they wouldn't in a performance, in a live
Exactly.
performance, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel exactly the same way, you know, that it's, and also that it doesn't have to be that perfect if it's from home, but that it is perfect when that it's a higher quality when it's in a concert hall. Of course, we expect it to be like that, but that the informality of the home concerts are also something great, because the artists are always seen as a bit above, you know, like this distance between, and which is a good thing when you go in a concert hall. But then, of course, to connect, for people to connect, there needs to be more a personal side. Yeah.
Exactly.
And also I think about the education of children, that we start talking about how children can be educated in school in art, and that it's not just about maths and science.
Yeah, that's a very complicated thing to think about because it's different in every country. For example, in Germany, you have such good music education. You just see young kids getting educated from such an early age, and it's a part of school. But for example, in Greece, it's basically nothing. No one cares about it. People don't pay attention. Even the teachers stop paying attention at some point because it's pointless. So I think they they should enforce this system that we used to have in the early days, very early on in the education, where people learn either like the flute or the violin, or they just start taking up an instrument so that they can see how it is. They can have contact with it because not all parents have the energy to drive their kids to conservatoire 2 times a week. Not every parent has the time or the resources. So I think
Exactly.
it's something that the schools should enforce because the more we focus on the technological aspects of education, like computers, math and stuff like that, we forget about the humanitarian aspects of education. Music and the arts are very important in building a young person's personality. So I don't know. I wish
Yeah.
things were different.
That's wonderful that you say that, and that you already have that insight from such a young age, that you know that. And I think also you as young musicians, you have the almost, I think, the mindset now with all the social media that you grew up with, to use it in a positive way, and not to use it as just about the self, but also to use it as to reach people, and to reach younger people, um, to make them aware and to give them more information, so that they get inquisitive about art and music, and that they will be the audiences of the future.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. We use social media to connect, which is amazing on its own. But I see many people posting their instruments. For example, I've heard the harpist play things like soundtracks, music from movies and video games or something, but it makes it more accessible to the people that don't know about classical music.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, my style is obviously classical music, so I do post a 15-second clip of me playing an excerpt of a piece that I'm working on. But I think it's beautiful that other people are trying to make it something
Mm.
understandable by people who haven't had the opportunity or haven't chosen to follow such a path.
Yeah. And also, I think talking about that, you know, because as you say, we also, people need to hear. I think the sounds that you get used to are the things that you start to enjoy and to like and to appreciate. But I, for example, sometimes when a musician tell me something about why they play this piece or why they love this composer, the way they tell it's so infectious that I start getting inquisitive then, and then I think, oh wait, when I get home, I'm quickly going to listen
Yeah,
what they were talking about, you know, because I'm not a musician and I don't have such a knowledge over music, but it makes me, when I hear these things, it makes me very eager to go and find out or to go and listen. But what is it he's talking about? So I also think in that sense, you know, that if musicians start talking about the music and not just playing it, but you know, telling the feeling behind it or why they like it, then it also, you know, for younger people who don't have that knowledge and that appreciation, you know, that can also be a benefit then.
yeah, totally. I
Yeah,
think, you know, we should communicate things that we like,
exactly.
because then people get interested about that. They are intrigued and then they want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and tell me, but when you were there in Greece, did you do something fun as well, not just practice? And
Oh,
did you do something that you never had time for?
well, I never had so much time in Greece for the past, since I was 18 actually.
Really?
So I found myself in Greece having the full 3 months of summer. And Greece is such a beautiful country to be in the summer. So I had time to spend with my Greek friends, and I had
Oh,
time to
wow.
visit all the places that I love and that I never have time to visit. So it
Mm,
was a very nostalgic summer. I just felt like I was back in time, you know,
mm,
but without the stress of exams, because the last time I was there, I had my abitur, of course. I had the Greek exams, like abitur, but in Greece. And I also had my audition at the academy, so it was a very stressful year. I also had the Athens Festival to perform. We had this amazing platform as a tribute to Claude Debussy,
mm.
which was amazing. But it was very stressful because it was my first chamber music performance and I was only 18 playing a very demanding piece, the trio for flute, viola, and harp, which
Mm.
is by far one of the most beautiful pieces of music for me. Um, but yeah, I just found myself there, but without the responsibilities
Oh, yeah.
that I used to have. So it
Mm,
was very weird, but I enjoyed it so much. I just had a proper break from everything and
mm.
kind of found myself again.
Yeah, and I think sometimes just this time in nature, you know, that we had, and as you say, you know, just time not to think of anything else, but to be in that moment and enjoying that moment, and especially because you're so young, you know, I think it's also important that you have that time.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Mm. Mm. Um, so what is your wish for when this is all over?
Uh, um, I wish that people pay more attention to what's going on around them than what is going on inside their heads. I made a very weird observation when I was in quarantine. I was on my window up on like the third floor, and no one was ever looking up. Everyone was always with their head down, not even noticing how beautiful the sky was, or very, trivial things like
Mm.
that's an interesting bird flying around, or just sitting around and observing something that's not about them. I just think if everyone paid attention to something that's bigger than them, we would all be better off as a society.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful that you got that um, thought process, and that is interesting that you say that people don't look up, because I used to, this is how I started this project. I used to do actually street photography. So I used to always look for people uh, on my level, in the street. And I actually look at, try to find couples to photograph. That's part of my street photography. So when the streets were empty with a lockdown, when lockdown started, then of course nobody was in the streets.
Yeah,
And so I was kind of looking for people the whole time, and I couldn't find, and this is when I started looking up, because there was not much happening in the street. And then I saw people in the windows, and this is what triggered the idea of then photographing people in windows. But this is also now, of course, now I look up more, because in also by looking up, like you say, you see a different view. You see architecture, you see things that you really in your everyday walking and rushing to everything that you don't um, see. So yeah, that's very interesting, and I think we do have to look up more.
yeah,
Yeah. So, but I wish you a very happy time in quarantine, if I can say happy time.
well, as happy as possible.
Yes, and do you still do you have contact with any of the students around you, or do you really have to be isolated?
Well, no, I don't have in-person contact, but I still, we still call each other, talk,
Okay.
try to keep that contact, because after a while you feel like the walls start talking to you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Um, but it was so lovely to talk to you, and you have wonderful insight and very mature way of thinking about all this. And I wish you really, for when this is over, that you also have for your studies and for everything that you, all your dreams that you have, that will come true, and that you have time to finish your studies there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to finish because I feel like I want to explore other things. I'm thinking about moving to Paris actually.
Mm,
Um, it's just one of my favorite cities, and you have so much to see everywhere you look.
mm,
So I'm auditioning for Vienna, Paris, and Berlin.
mm.
And hoping for the best. I just want to
Yeah,
be in a city that inspires me.
exactly.
Because
Yeah.
explaining, trying to get inspiration from inside of you, it's so
Mm.
difficult. You have to start, absorbing it from things around you. Otherwise, it's very hard.
It is, and it is important to live in a city where you are happy, because I think part of that is part of you, this energy that you then put in your music and then put in your art. And I think it should be like that, that if you're not playing the harp, there should be other things around you that make you happy as well, that it's not just the one thing. But
Definitely.
I believe that dreams come true, and I believe that wishes come true. So if that's your wish, then maybe I'll see you in Vienna soon.
Maybe. Yeah. If I ever find myself there, I will, of course, reach out to you.
Yes, please write to me. And
I will write.
I live across the road from the music university.
Oh, that's incredible. Is it
Yeah,
Universität für Musik und Darstellende
yeah,
Kunst?
yeah,
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you a picture from my window.
Yeah, please do. Okay. And I will reach out to you for sure.
Yes, and we'll have a coffee, and I would love
Yeah.
to also hear you play. That
Oh,
would be
yeah, of
great.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time, and
Thank
have a
you.
wonderful afternoon.
You too. It was
Okay.
lovely to meet you.
Lovely to talk to you.
Have a nice
Bye.
afternoon. Bye.
Bye.